Hello, Giants fans. Welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. We're here today because we have another question to answer. I always appreciate it when you all are able to keep discussions going and just gives me, honestly, a lot more to talk about. And the question is essentially, of the players on the Giants roster right now, who needs to step up and have a breakout year in 2024? Additionally, we have a rather lengthy comment regarding the possibility of the Giants trading for Ryan McMahon from the Rockies, and we will get to that issue at the end of today's video. But first of all, I want to look into this question about who needs to step up and have a breakout year. Who do the Giants need to rely on to the most to be better than they were before? And if you're interested, and I'm sure everybody pretty much would have already guessed this, but I am not starting this by saying Joey Bart, because it's pretty clear, I think, that his top prospect status is over, at least with this organization. It's very unlikely that he has a spot on the opening day roster of this team, and I think that for all intents and purposes, he has had his chance. So I certainly wouldn't have the mindset of pinning our hopes on Joey Bart having a breakout season. It's probably time to look elsewhere. But while we're on the subject of catchers, I'll just make the statement here that Patrick Bailey needs to step up and have a drastically improved performance in 2024, because all the focus was on his framing ability and his defensive ability as a catcher in 2023. And those things, they were both just kind of at the top of the game, you know. And we saw, too, some high moments with the bat. And he's a very promising young player. If the consistency with the bat, that one last thing there that needs to be developed, if that could come around in 2024, then it could be very valuable and really make Patrick Bailey the complete player. Now, on Blake Sabol, I'm probably not going to emphasize him too much. I just started talking about the catchers because there's just something you could kind of say about both of these guys, about how they would need to step up. But I mean, for Sabol, it's after the signing, I think particularly after the signing of Tom Murphy, it's essentially that the case is right now that Sabol either is going to step up and perform, or he is not going to be on the team. He's going to be in AAA. So as far as what's happening with Sabol, it's one of those two things that's going to happen. And I am confident, too, that could be the case for a lot of the guys that we're going to talk about. But I'm just pretty certain that it's the case with Sabol. They probably, whether they would consider carrying 3 catchers at the start of the season, honestly, I don't know. But they will almost certainly not carry Sabol on the roster if he is not able to perform. And now, moving on to other guys, and I'm going to mention a prospect just very clearly that, I mean, he's got to step up and have a good season in 2024. He's like, he must, like, no exceptions. That would be Marco Luciano. In a very small sample size in 2023, he did not put up great numbers, but it's a small size, and we have to take a small size for what it is. It's just kind of the history on prospects maybe not doing so much of what they were expected to, that it's probably what would be most likely to make us feel maybe not so great about Luciano. But he's been a top organizational prospect for a long time, and it's still too early to tell. But the hole at shortstop that was always there, that was there through the entirety of the 2023 season, because of the fact that this organization has it's counted on Luciano for such a long time to be the highest or one of the top 3 highest prospects in the system. I think that's fair to say. then if he's going to play on the big league roster, and they are expecting him to, they are just almost certainly counting on him to at least be a real big candidate to receive everyday at bats, and that's obviously what would work out best for the Giants if Luciano could receive everyday at bats in the infield at shortstop. So he needs to be good in 2024. We just can't have a delay in Luciano trying to find his groove and get to the big leagues. He's got to step up, absolutely. We already talked about Kyle Harrison yesterday, so I don't feel any need to go into things right there. But while we're on position players, I mean, obviously Michael Conforto, this kind of just underwhelming performance, and I understand he missed 2022 due to injury, but he was, after all, a free agent signing, and the Giants put some kind of big money into him. So if we could see an improvement in 2024, it would be great, honestly, if Conforto could just improve. And then, I mean, Thairo Estrada too. I think the year was a bit down from maybe his full potential, and he's primarily a middle infielder, and so I mean, if he can just kind of keep up on defense and stuff, but certainly with the bat, if I think he could benefit the Giants by improving, and that they're going to need him to perform a little bit better. And if either Estrada or Mike Yastrzemski or Austin Slater could just have a real breakout year and just be a star like for a year in 2024, I would just be interested to see what that would do for the Giants and how many wins it might add to their total. If for one of those guys that could happen, it would truly be impressive. And Lamont Wade Jr., it was a good season for him. Like, I think he performed really well. And if somehow he could just like smash it in 2024, I mean, maybe he'd be another good candidate if we're starting to think just have a breakout superstar year. If one of these guys could just jump out there and do it in 2024, it would very likely be huge for the Giants. And now, just going to the pitching side, I think that in terms of potential starters or multi-inning relievers for the Giants, if Sean Jelly and Keaton Winn, these two guys who have just had very limited success, if they could step up and we could see a good year, like, I mean, good ERA type of good year, and also like being able to pitch at least fairly deep into games while being effective from at least one of these guys, honestly, I think that may be a long shot, because Jelly has seen parts of 2 seasons already, and he has not been impressive in either one of them. And Winn, I mean, that 2023 was his first, so we'll see. I mean, Logan Webb wasn't too good, and then he improved. So, I mean, but obviously, the more you can go with that, the better things just look in the rotation. So that's honestly just a handful of players, and it's probably not an exhaustive discussion, but I mean, then too, if Ross Stripling and Sean Manaea could be at least a little bit better, and I wouldn't bet much on them, honestly, and I think they're probably kind of long shots, but I've just kind of gone over some ideas here. And then David Villar too, like that kind of disappointment, a prospect that we saw in 2023, like he wasn't, I mean, he wasn't good at all. If he could turn it around and actually be the prospect he used to be, it's getting kind of old, these prospects just taking so long to actually put up good performance. And David Villar is a good reminder of that. But if you want to know, like, probably the 2 guys, honestly, who we would say need to break out on the position player side, I mean, pitching side's a different discussion, but I mean, just realistically, I think if we're talking about and pitching obviously it's Kyle Harrison who absolutely needs to break out. But again, we discussed him yesterday. On the position player side, and others may have a difference of opinion, but I think Patrick Bailey and Marco Luciano are guys that just cannot be disappointments in 2024. Well, we're almost done here, but I did want to go over this thing that's being brought to our attention by it's brought to our attention about Ryan McMahon. Should the Giants trade for him from the Rockies? And I get the thinking here. He's a versatile infielder, and I mean, he can play ball. Honestly, though, and I am just not super excited about the possibility of getting McMahon, unless maybe the Giants could do it with giving up essentially nothing. But even so, I would have liked him to put up at least one season, I mean just one, in his entire career with the Rockies where he batted at least 260. Or maybe where he put up an OPS of 800 or more, and yet that's not there. Not one such season is there. So if you're that would be the main con there, obviously. But he might still have some upside, and it is worth noting that he did hit 23 home runs in 2023. So there's that over 20 there with the bat. But honestly, McMahon is not the guy I would be the most excited about, and it certainly can't define success by itself to get him. So that's probably my take on him. I hope that kind of answers those questions. And if there's anything more that anybody wants to talk about or anything that I might have missed that's important, please just bring it to my attention in the comments. Thank you for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you haven't. Also, please leave your questions and comments. You know where to do it. I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101.